Happy May, everybody, and welcome to the Rule Thirds Podcast, your favorite film culture podcast that happens every now and then. My name is Max.
My name is Sean.
My name is Larry.
How are you guys doing today? I'm in a frenzy right now. How are you guys doing?
I'm the opposite of a frenzy. I'm 3 days post graduation, so I'm a bit of a lull in my life. So,
Well,
just chill out, like man. You just got through finals and everything. You just chill, you know.
yeah,
Give
but it's
yourself
nice
something to do,
that
though.
for a little while I get to act superior because I am the graduated film scholar here, gentlemen. Please, please take my opinions. Obviously,
I am now
superior.
actually, Sean. I am now the award-winning filmmaker. So how about you sit
Oh,
right back
excuse me.
down?
I was editor of Pyrrhic that won Best Picture at the Tracy's.
I was the writer and star and director of Real Talk: How to Women, which just won Best Senior Film
But
at
that's
my
not
film
a
school.
film. It's a
not
web
a
series.
film. It's
I
not
know,
a
and that's the
film.
weirdest thing. That's the weirdest thing. Like I saw actual films, and then Real Talk won. Like it was the weirdest. And I'm very grateful. I got a $100 Amazon gift card, but I'm just I'm just kind
prize?
of yeah.
I'm saying
That's
I
the
think they
prize.
should do best web series if you can get enough students to do web series, as you should. I think web series are a great
Seniors
outlet
in
for this.
college. For seniors in college, the best prize they could come up with was a gift card.
Well, look,
Just
we're
goes
not,
to show.
Larry, how you doing, buddy?
Hey, I won a prize in my senior year of high school for a video I did, and I got I think a $25 Wawa gift card. So I feel you. I
did too, and I got a T-shirt.
Yeah,
Actually-
well, see, I'd prefer a T-shirt, honestly. I like T-shirts. But I'm pretty good. I finished my last final this morning, so I'm officially done academically with my freshman year of college.
Nice.
Which is always nice. I have a couple other things I got to do on campus before I officially move out and start the summer. But it's going to be a good summer. I'm going to try focusing on writing, try to get a little portfolio of screenplays going, of some short films. And yeah, I'm looking forward to doing some interesting stuff over this very nicely long summer.
Yeah. Yeah, isn't that nice? Like,
Yeah.
the first time you have that, that summer break that starts in May, it's like, oh my god, this is so much better than freaking school.
Gives you
But it's
so
so
much
much
more
better than high
time
school.
to do things.
Yeah. And, of course, because it's May, because it's the summer break, that means we talk about one of the most anticipated films Rule Thirds has ever had, regardless of the year, Captain America: Civil War. And we're going to have a nice, long, good old review about it.
Now,
followed mostly
what about Max?
Fo-
I mean, you say it would be a nice review, but what if we disagree? What if one of us doesn't like it and the others love it? Or what do we do?
we fight.
And
it's
there's
funny.
your necessary Civil War quote of the day,
It's funny.
ladies and gentlemen. There you
After
go.
we agreed to do that setup thing, I realized we don't do the cold open anymore. So my
Yeah.
thought was you'd say we fight and then we go to the intro. But then I remembered as we were recording a few seconds ago, I'm like, we don't do that anymore. Oh well,
It's true.
Yeah, the joke still works.
It wasn't forced at all. So
No, it
we
was
should probably
not
get
at
into
all.
it.
No.
So,
not one bit.
yeah. Also, please excuse if there's a bit of background noise. I'm graduating this week, and things are getting a little hectic around here. But of course, there's no time to rest. We have to review the big movie of the summer. Honestly, I just can't think of another movie that's bigger than Civil War that's coming out this summer. Are you guys in the same ballpark or what?
This
Yeah,
is the big
probably.
movie of the year. The
I
year.
mean-
we have to see, but probably.
Probably.
Yeah, it's like
come on.
there's no other film to talk about. So what we're gonna do is what we do every time, and as this is the last Rule Thirds review, which is a shame, but some
Max,
things.
before we
gotta-
get too deep into your setup, we do a community section.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
So it's just Seth. Seth commented saying his high school graduation didn't have a speaker, mostly get in, get out because the kids had to go set up their meth labs. He says he went to that kind of high school. So that sounds fun. And I
Where,
actually,
in New Mexico?
I don't know. I would actually prefer the in out kind of just walk in, get the diploma, and walk out, and nothing else. But mine was pretty short and sweet. There wasn't a big speaker like someone who talked for 30 minutes. It was just a few different people from the different colleges talking for a few minutes. It was good.
Did any student talk?
Yeah. Student
Oh.
body president, who was the new one. They always speak. So yeah, we did have a student
Was it a good
talk.
speech? Was it good?
It was solid. It wasn't the most original, but meh.
We did great, and we will continue to do great. Thank you.
Yeah, kind of. So, and then he had an answer. He says that he thinks Nintendo should take a page from Square's book and just keep each franchise in its own continuity. And that's fair. We just had this brain experiment. I don't think Nintendo, like the company, should start messing with this too much.
No, not at all.
And he said that he kick off the Zelda with a hybrid of the NES original and A Link to the Past. And Earthbound was a
that's
boss.
interesting.
So yeah, he liked our Earthbound idea. So, and that was
Yeah,
it. So
that's
that's
right.
community
We're about his boss. All right. So okay, cool. So today for our last Rule 30 review, we're talking about Captain America: Civil War, and as we do with every review, it's going to start with our thesis statements, where we just give our general thoughts that are in spoiler free.
Nice.
Then all people who want to stick around for the spoiler review, they can stick around. Everybody else can leave and go see or not see or whatever the movie, while we go into a long, heavy discussion. And with this being Civil War, the beginning of Phase 3, and because we're all huge fans of Marvel Studios, we're probably going to also get into a discussion about what the implications of Civil War have. So, yeah, I think this is definitely a movie worth talking about. There's a lot more to talk about than I think any of us thought, you know? But with that in mind,
agree,
guys,
yeah.
let's see. Who's going to start? Let's go with Larry. Larry, why don't you give us your thesis statement?
All right. Yeah, I mean, it's guys. I don't even realize. I mean, the number is not as important really for me at this point in Marvel's game. It's phenomenal. It's a phenomenal film, and I think the reason why I like this film as opposed to, and you know, a lot of people that I have talked to about Civil War have said that they feel this is a better sequel to the Avengers than its own sequel. And I'm not trying to diss Age of Ultron. I think it's a great film also. But I think the reason why I like this film as a successor to that is because not only does it sort of continue, you know, and it has some really great character stuff, but it's just really thematically interesting, and it takes a lot of interesting steps. And it wasn't really cliche at all. I really did not know where this film was going to go. I'm still thinking about a lot of different things. It's always impressive how Marvel manages to balance all of these characters and somehow give them each a sort of small arc, yet there's some bigger arc that the whole movie's going through. I have very few complaints. They're all very minimal, and then nothing's really overarching. I'm going to give Civil War a solid 9 out of 10. Really enjoyed it. Some of the best action and some of the... What? I said 9. What did you respond with?
I just said nice.
Oh, nice? Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah,
Sorry.
but wait, why not 9.5? Just out of curiosity.
Because 9 was
I think
the number.
we'll get into that when we get into detail.
Yeah,
Alright, that makes sense.
Yeah,
Makes sense,
I mean, there's you know, I just sort of like when I walk out of a movie, I'm sort of like, this is probably going to get this number, and it usually sticks unless the conversation sort of makes it move around. But yeah, 9 out of 10. Some of the best action Marvel has ever had, and honestly, some of the best character moments that we've ever had in the MCU for sure. There you go.
All right,
That's my
Sean.
thesis.
All right, this is like your most anticipated film of the year, so you just gotta give it to
Here
us.
we go.
I would actually like to go last.
Oh, all
So,
right.
if you don't mind.
You know, I was actually thinking of talking you into going, actually, no, I'm going. Like, I was just going to do that, but I guess I don't have to do that anymore.
Please do.
So, okay. So, all right. As this is one of my most anticipated films of the year, of course, it was a big deal, but I would say Captain America Civil War embodies the best and worst qualities of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. All of the things it does well, it does so blammed well. It's like, how do these guys do it? Are they wizards? They're probably wizards. I think the plot is great. It's a very smart movie that is about a lot of things, and that, as vague as that sounds, by which I mean it's a movie that has a lot to say about a lot of different things, and it succeeds at saying all of them. Has some amazing action, has some amazing character arcs. It balances so much so well, but they're just the growing pains of the cinematic universe are really starting to take shape, and I think it's starting to become a bit irritating at what Marvel does exactly with its stuff, and I get the sense it comes from a business standpoint, and that just can't cut anymore. So this, for me, Civil War is the last time certain elements of the movie that you have probably seen in other Marvel movies can be done, because I'm really just kind of sick of it. I walked out of the film a bit more aggravated than I thought, but I still really, really enjoyed everything about the movie, and I give it an 8 out of 10.
Well, I'm curious about what you're talking about because I am just blank. I'm blanking on what you're talking about. So,
Yeah.
discussion will be interesting.
Okay.
Sean,
okay.
give it away.
Captain America Civil War is exactly that. This is a film that is, at the same time, Captain America 3 and also Marvel's Civil War. And for the most part, these two storylines work together. the approach that this film took of kind of putting the whole Sokovia Accords as a context for a single Avenger storyline, in this case Captain America, was interesting. And Captain finding Bucky and all that comes out of it, interacting with the new changes of the Accords and the disagreement that, the Civil War thing's bringing in, worked for the most part. These are two very well integrated storylines. And it brought about a lot of amazing moments. This is a film that has just all the characters, they know what they're doing, and there's great action, great newcomers, which we'll get to, and it's hard for me to point out specific moments that didn't work. It's very well executed in this regard, and it all builds up to a fantastic airport scene, which of course you've seen in the trailer. However, this is the point where Civil War becomes the first MCU film to 100% screw it up. And I think that is the phrase I have to use. And I've seen this film now 3 times.
Oh my
Because-
god! Jeez.
Yeah, because I was trying to make it work. I'm not some random film goer who decided to jump in, and not even like regular film goer. I'm now graduated of a film school. I watch movies all the time. I'm very into the MCU, and I couldn't crack how the movie was trying to work, because the ending of this movie is a complete misfire. The climax, the emotional climax, has nothing to do with the philosophical / thematic clash that the Sokovia Accords bring around. And it isn't even a resolution necessarily to the Cap 3 storyline, as that's that sort of overarching idea and its villain is relegated elsewhere. The ending didn't work. And even post what I was hoping the climax could actually do some permanent changes in the MCU, the very end seemed to completely negate that, and I'm so sick, just sick to death. As much as I love the MCU, I'm sick of how it refuses to actually commit to any changes and have anything lasting in their films. Nothing has stuck. Nothing has made a difference thus far. And how many movies has it been? It's
13.
It's been 13 movies, and nothing has
you're
made
counting.
a single ounce of difference. That being said, it is an enjoyable movie, but man, does the third act not work. I'm going to give Civil War a 7 out of 10. You might be surprised by that.
Okay. Wow.
I guess we fight.
We do
I
fight.
guess we fight.
All right. So now that you know our thesis statements, Sean is 7, I 8, and Larry a 9. This movie is probably still worth seeing.
It's worth seeing.
It's worth
It's all
seeing.
on the good side.
It's worth seeing.
It's
Don't doubt
it's at
that.
least good from our perspective. So
At
go check it
least.
out. But so let's be real, you probably already watched Civil War, as the box office has shown us. So
Yay.
now we're going to get into a spoiler review, and I think there's a lot to talk about. And yeah, Sean, I think I'm sort of with you on this one.
Yeah, let's just tackle this. Sean,
All right,
I'd like you
can I
to
just say it? Can I
elaborate
just
a
say
little
it?
bit.
Because it's juvenile and it's simple. Nobody dies, and that upsets me.
Yes. Okay, look.
Oh, is that
I
the
am-
problem you guys have? Oh, okay.
Yes, that is
that's
the
part of it.
problem.
Okay, well, that's not entirely. So now that we can do spoilers, the problem I had is that this did have some pretty permanent repercussions building up. Tony and
Yeah.
Steve were like enemies, and most of the Avengers were locked away, or on the run. The only Avengers that were officially like Avengers were Tony, Rhodey, who was still trying to learn to walk again after a partial / total paralysis. It wasn't completely addressed, and Vision. Those are 3. There were 3 Avengers left, and one was in recovery, and that was a big deal. And the rest were in prison or on the run, like Black Widow or Captain, or I guess Bucky now kind of counts, or Spider-Man is just back home. Like that was
well,
big.
I mean, not Bucky.
But then the
Bucky's
very
now a
end,
hunter.
Steve sends Tony a letter. He's like, "Sorry, here, give us a call. We'll be there." Pew, pew, pew. And he
Yeah.
rescues them. It's like, well, what was actually changed? Nothing. The
Yeah,
Avengers are
the
all
big
free,
complaint I'm
ready
hering
to-
about this movie is that it feels inconsequential.
It is. And
Yeah,
it
I'll
doesn't
give you
feel
that.
inconsequential. It is. If you just look on
Okay.
paper, nothing changed. As much,
It's
the
true.
only thing was most of the
Wow.
Avengers are now kind of in hiding. But even
I'm sorry. Go on. Finish. If you have more to say.
that's not meaningful. That doesn't mean anything. And I didn't need a character death. I was actually impressed with the idea of shattering the Avengers. And we'll get to it. I liked Zemo a lot more than I think most people.
Yeah, I also like
and
Zemo, too.
And he had an amazing final moment. When
Oh, yeah,
like
that
Martin
oh,
Freeman's
so
like, "Oh,
good.
how does it feel? It
So
felt so
good.
spectacular," and just looks up and says, did it. It's like, oh my god.
Oh, I think he
Marvel
also has a great
villain-
moment with Black Panther too, when Black Panther blocks
Yeah.
the bullet that he's about
Yeah,
to
yeah.
shoot.
But we'll get to Black Panther and the ending and all that. But the fact that the Marvel movie ends with the villain winning, like, wow. Even if my complaint still stands that the final emotional like fight between Steve and Tony has nothing to do with the rest of the movie, and it's simplified, and it could have been on its own like a short film, had nothing to do with anything previously, and
I
it
would
upsets me
disagree with
greatly.
that, actually.
Well, we will talk about it because I desperately want the two to connect. Again, I see this very much as Cap 3 is going on and Marvel Civil War. And the fact that they don't actually come to a head really, really irks me. And it's like this fundamental flaw that I'm like flabbergasted. Like, that's the thing. I was in disbelief that such a massive flaw could be left in a Marvel movie. I had to see it 3 times because I thought it was me. It wasn't. It wasn't. After 3 times,
That's
it
why you
can't
went
be
to go
me.
see it 3 times.
Yeah, because I saw it once and I'm like, what was missing? What wasn't there? And then the second, like, the ending didn't work. And the third, it was, I came around and said, it doesn't. It wasn't just me. So, yeah. And so
okay,
again, I thought that they were going to have the lasting impact of the Avengers are scattered. Steve and Tony are kind of enemies now, kind of. And Infinity War would have to bring them together, but it wouldn't be easy. But no, he sends a cell phone. It's like, give me a call, bud. And it just backpedaled
Yeah.
so hard. This
Yeah,
was
I will
like
give
by
you
far
that.
the most disappointing.
I think the one problem that does stick in my mind with Civil War is the ending, and I think not only because
And that's huge.
now, okay, well, I mean, in comparison
The ending
to all
of the movie is
okay,
huge.
Sean. In comparison to things that I really, really loved about the movie, it's the one flaw that sticks in my mind. Hence the 9. That's a whole number. But I think I do admit that the letter. I wouldn't call the letter a full backpedal because I don't
think it
think
was.
that letter totally makes Tony like, oh well, Cap's awesome now.
But,
I
yeah,
think
okay.
The Avengers
the
are
huge-
yours. That says something. If nothing
Yeah,
else,
I
that
think-
does say something.
I think the ending. While I admit that, yes, the final confrontation between Tony and Cap is pretty distant from the events. I think there are character things going on with Tony and Cap that make that fight make sense as to why it happened.
Yeah,
but I
I'm with
also,
that.
Like that's
I
saying,
also, can I just,
go ahead.
I also think that while yes, I was waiting for a character death and I was sort of like, and when it didn't happen, I was a little surprised. I think that final moment spoke volumes when you're talking
What
about
final
when you're
moment?
considering the
You mean
moment
when he
where
sticks the
he
shield
stabs
in-
the shield. He
Yeah,
sticks
what
the
is
shield
that? It
into
doesn't mean
Tony.
anything.
No, it
I
means
think it
quite,
means something,
it means
yeah.
quite something. It means that
No.
he's
Yeah,
willing.
I'd say it
no,
means-
no. Hold on. Let me explain what I think it means. I think it means that Tony is willing to go against the law, is to go above all of these formalities, the things that he was so dedicated to within the first Captain America movie, and he was having struggles with the gray areas of it in Winter Soldier, and now he's officially choosing his own personal reasoning, his best friend, his own, connections within himself over what's best for maybe the greater good or what's best for, what the
Steve
UN
would
thinks.
never. But that goes against the character. If he
Well,
actually
the
sees
character's
Tony as
changed.
no,
The
but
character's
not
changed
that-
quite a bit.
But look, you're
from-
saying
from
that
the
Steve
movie.
decided Tony was right and then said screw it anyway. That's completely out of character.
What do you
and was
mean
not built up to at all.
What do you mean he said Tony was right? No, he never said Tony was right.
Well, if you're saying that Steve was going against the greater good, Steve never thought that Tony was right, that it was for the greater good. That's why he was fighting against it. Now, I want to have a whole debate. I think Tony was completely in the right the entire movie, for the record.
Yeah, I agree. I think
I
personally
was on sort of both sides.
You know,
honestly.
guys, you know what? I think we're starting too big. I think we've got. I got my initial thing out. We have all of our initial things out. I think we should loop back around to this once we kind of covered everything else.
Well, I think this is the one part that we sort of disagree on.
But I don't want to
think,
just
overall.
blandly go through the rest saying this was good, this was good, this was good, and I have more thoughts to get to. So I say we
Well,
put this
yeah,
on
I-
hold just so we don't peak at the beginning of the episode.
Well, I mean, I think there's plenty to talk about anyway. Outside,
Max, you're
of
the
that.
host. What's your call?
I'm
I'd
still curious as to
say-
what Max was talking about because I haven't. Is that what you were talking about, Max?
Well, okay, the whole character death thing, but also the fact that this. Wait, should I go into this or hold on? Let me think.
Yes, please. It's the one thing. It's the big part of
Oh.
your thesis.
Hey, I have an idea. Why don't I try to tear the Avengers apart from the inside? That sounds like a great idea that has never been made in any of these movies ever. This is the third time they have pulled this crap, and I'm tired of it. I am
What?
really tired of it.
When?
Daniel Bruhl's Zemo's entire motivation was to tear the Avengers apart from the inside, to get them to kill each other. He said this in the movie. Like
Oh, that's
yes.
Loki too in Avengers 1.
Loki and Ultron.
No,
And Ultron.
both of
that's
this
them.
was different. This was different.
It is
Loki-
different. It's a little different.
I will say that it was different enough to the point where it didn't like make it like go all the way into the 7, but it was still like, guys, there are better like listen, it doesn't always have to be getting the Avengers to hurt each other. Like we all loved that scene in the Avengers when Thor and Iron Man were fighting, but we don't need to like keep finding excuses for villains to be like, I have an idea. Why don't I just do all these crazy things and then just make the Avengers try to hurt each other as opposed to hurting them myself? Like,
Look,
it's just
in the Avengers, Loki was a preventive. It was a preventive measure, is what I'm thinking of. Where
Okay.
the Avengers were going to try to assemble against him, and so Loki purposely made sure he was at the center just to make sure that it didn't happen. And of course, it backfired on him because friendship wins the day. But with Ultron, is the thing about Ultron is that kind of dropped like halfway through, and so Ultron's endgame was robots versus Avengers / Army
Okay,
versus
all right,
Avengers,
I'll give you that.
which
I'll
is
give you
eventually
that.
what Loki's fell to as well. And so I like that Zemo never had the armor. Like that was really refreshing when at the end they go into where all those other super soldiers are,
And he has him
them all.
killed. Yeah.
He's like, I don't want them.
You guys also thought that would be like the final battle, like
Yeah.
Yeah,
fight
I
my
assumed
minions,
that, yeah.
and then they just
And that'd be like video game, right? Where it's like all
Yeah.
these mini bosses, and then you fight me. Yeah. So
Yeah, but that does
By the
feel
way,
like
Civil
too
War
cliche
also
to return
proves
if that
we
happens.
need a great MCU video game. Just now
we
just
do.
happens.
So they're doing
so
some
basically,
mobile
that's
stuff
why I
now,
like
but-
Zemo. Yeah, maybe we
All right,
should
yeah,
skip the
I like Zemo
character.
too. I do like Zemo. I think he has a good performance.
Let's see.
I don't know. I was talking to a friend of mine. My friend thinks that Baron Zemo was weakened by the personal story he gives at the end.
Yeah. No, that's the thing. The motive just being revenge. That's really pedestrian.
It is
That's-
really
yeah,
pedestrian,
it's-
but at the same time, I think that there's a lot of discussion that this whole movie about like the personal, like the crushing personal story about the person, person who died versus like all the people you saved, you know. And I think
This is a movie about logic versus emotion.
exactly.
That's like the
and
entire
and
point.
I think that Baron Zemo's sort of
Hence the
personal
whole
idea,
final fight.
and I don't know if necessarily Baron Zemo's personal crushing story was like sort of the movie saying, one side wins over the other necessarily, but I think that put him in a legitimate stake with all the rest of the characters.
The living are not done with you. That was great.
Yeah, great.
Yeah, so
Oh,
I
All right,
think
so
Black
the
Panther.
let's talk about characters. And
Yeah.
now
So we
let me
just
ask you
covered
guys
Zemo.
this.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, let me just ask you guys this. So leading up to Civil War, we got there was a lot of snark, not to be confused with Stark, about how many characters were being fit in this movie and whether or not they were going to balance it all well. Like even I remember you, Sean, you made a few you made a few passive remarks about that. I think we all did. And now with that all in mind, do you think they handled it well?
Absolutely. I agree.
Yeah,
I do.
Yeah.
I think so too. That's probably it's kind of miraculous how they pulled this off.
That's kind of
Yes,
Marvel's
definitely.
thing now. They sort of are able to take these incredible ensembles and continue their character. And I think the brilliance really comes in the fact that the characters, the minor characters, no matter how small it is, they sort of have some sort of little, all the major ones have an arc. Of course, Cap and Tony are the main characters with arcs, but you'll notice that, Scarlet Witch has a little bit of a character thing, and especially with Vision, Scarlet Witch, I just said that. Black Widow has a small character arc. Even characters like
Black Panther.
Black Panther gets his
Like-
own.
we
He
will
gets
get
an
to Black
origin.
Panther.
He gets his origin.
We will
movie,
get to Black
basically.
Panther, guys. This needs guys. Let's just stop it. We need to get way more organized about this review.
Can I
So
just
don't
finish?
just
Can
go
I finish
listing
my?
through
Can I
every
just finish my
character.
thought, please? Can I just
Well,
finish
you were
it?
listing every character.
Okay, well, I'm gonna have a point if you just let me get to it.
Okay, well,
please.
get to it.
Okay, well, the idea is that it's just all these characters get their own moments while still balancing with the larger ones, and the smaller arcs fit into the larger arcs. And I think that's what's really important. None of all of these arcs being floated around, they all feel like pieces of a larger puzzle. And this is sort of why Avengers: Age of Ultron works for the most part, with the occasional exceptions, and that's why Avengers works. It's just the arc feels complete, despite the fact it's made up of a ton of tiny ones.
All right. So let's see. Now,
We should just start with Team Cap or Team Iron Man. Just go through.
okay, yeah, Team Cap. Let's just start with
Cool.
Team Cap.
Team
I
Cap.
think. Okay, so I think
Ant Man was fun.
it was a ton of fun. Love the new suit.
Perfect
love
amount
his-
of time because Scott Lang's not a character to give an arc to in that little amount of time.
Yeah.
He doesn't gel with the more serious tone of the movie if you held him too long. So he was in it perfect amount of time. Intro scene was fun.
He was to this movie as Coulson was to the first Avengers. He's like the fan. He's like the everyman, the every fan who is also like who can also hold his own. You know?
Yeah. He was great. Very fun.
Yeah. Let's see. Falcon. Loved Falcon as usual. I wish he was given more of an arc though. I think there's so much to explore with this guy. I just, they give him plenty of time and they give him plenty of action and plenty of great bits. Mm-hmm. I feel like he just maybe it's just me speaking as a Falcon fan. I think he just deserves more. But
he didn't really get an arc.
Yeah,
there's a lot of great
he
zingers,
ended up
though.
trusting Tony, but it wasn't a huge change.
That was solid though. I kind of like that. I sort of like how Falcon comes around to Tony because of his loss, and by the end he's sort of like, all right, this guy's like, whatever. It's like it's less or so of.
No, that's fair.
Thing.
Yeah, Rhodes and almost getting Rhodes killed kind of brought them together, or they kind of, hey, maybe this whole fight is a little dumb, and we're pals, and okay. But it wasn't a complete. It wasn't. Yeah, I see what you see, Max. It wasn't like the biggest arc. And Red Wing's fun. I like that.
Many good jokes.
A robotic sidekick. Like we don't have sidekicks in Marvel, and this was like the closest we've got. It was like a pet / sidekick, so that was good.
Mm-hmm.
His
Scarlet Witch.
Oh please, Scarlet Witch was by far my favorite. Like just kind of the main characters. She felt like she was new in this movie because I really liked her in Age of Ultron, but she was always kind of part of Scarlet Witch, Quicksilver. You just set them together. And so for Civil War, she was just her. And she was really good. And she's the first character that you see in the movie outside of Bucky during the flashback. And it's fitting.
Yeah, it's weird though, because like wouldn't you think that Scarlet Witch would be on Team Iron Man because of all the stuff that happened with Quicksilver? Like she doesn't even mention him. It's really strange.
Yeah, I would say that's a little weird. But I get that she's not mourning. I get that she's not mourning him anymore because it's been
she's
a lot
not mourning,
of time.
but that would still make a huge impact on her.
Although
right?
I think Iron Man, but Iron Man sort of makes the whole sort of asserts that she's dangerous and doesn't really give her much of a chance.
Yeah, no, I totally got her.
It makes a lot of sense. And I do like her little arc here. I do like it's not like necessarily a complete arc necessarily, but I like that she's given this conflict. Like I thought it was a great character moment when she sends Crossbones up and she kind of starts this whole problem. It's a great character moment. Has that great moment with Cap right in the beginning. Really solid.
Yeah, she's important, which is good.
Yes. Then we got Vision.
Hawkeye.
Well,
Hawkeye's
Vision's
next.
the other time. Never mind.
He was fine. I mean, he doesn't really get much.
I really liked Hawkeye, and his intro scene was probably my favorite. Like just his kind of debut in the movie. It just appeared. Like I thought it was really fun. He's kind of been given the above all this role, where he's just kind of shrugging it off and he's not too into it, and that he kind of had that with Age of Ultron. He was the normal one while they were all, tortured and what they were shown in their visions, and Hawkeye was just the guy with the farmhouse. I think that's a very interesting role for him, and he played it again. And he was good.
I love the Clint sort of like Clint out of retirement. I'm like, interesting. All right, this is going to be fun.
And then he came back because of course he did.
Yep.
So.
Yeah. Okay, so should we move on to Team Iron Man then? Because that's everybody on that. Or I guess there's also Agent 13.
Kind of, yeah, but she wasn't like officially in the airport fight, but she was definitely on Cap's side.
Now, I will say this. I know there's a bit of discussion about this. I think that exchange that she and Cap had was actually kind of brilliant. And then people automatically assume we didn't need that love story. It really wasn't a love story. It was just kind of a mutual confession of attraction. And actually, it's like addressing an elephant in the room, and I really appreciated that.
Yeah, I can see that. I can see that as less of a they're not like falling into their arms like soulmate, but like they finally just kind of like, hey, we should probably do something about this.
It was just
and then they kiss.
Yeah, like I'm just saying, like
it wasn't necessary. But
yeah,
it was
but
fine.
like,
and then when he looks back at freaking Bucky, oh my god, we forgot to talk about Bucky.
Wait, hold on. Am I the only one that finds it a little weird that he's now sort of like having a relationship with his lover's niece?
Well,
have you met Cap? He's kind of a man stuck in time, so that's gonna happen. But I think, hold on, I believe in the comics, I think Agent 13 is actually Peggy's granddaughter. In this, she's just her great niece.
Oh, great niece. Excuse me, great niece. My bad.
Yeah. It's not a granddaughter. Yeah, great niece. So I think that makes a little bit more of an impact, personally. I think that's a bit, I know it's weird, but this is Marvel, and that's like.
I know. I just wanted to bring it up. I couldn't get it out of my head when I saw them kiss. I'm like, wait, whoa, Cap, wait a minute, your lover died like yesterday.
Well,
Yeah, that's
but a lot of
isn't it
times,
sad that
whatever.
you know? Can I just point out how sad it was that the same week that we find out Agent Carter will most likely not get renewed,
She
we
dies.
watch the movie where Agent Carter dies. Like that's pretty sad.
That's pretty indicative, if anything.
Yeah.
But Bucky, what about Bucky?
So
Yeah,
I think Bucky is the Bucky. Bucky's the first time where they had I saw what they were going for, but it was not drawn out enough. At least the way I interpreted it, Bucky was very guilty. Bucky was running from Steve. He remembered Steve. That seemed to be pretty clear. When they're in their apartment and Steve's like, you're lying. Because, of course, he pulled Steve because he started to remember him. And now he totally remembers everything. Mm-hmm. I think they should have drawn that out more. Bucky being guilty about all this stuff and he's running from Steve because of that is very interesting, where he doesn't want to face his best friend because of what he did. He's ashamed of it. That's very interesting. They didn't they didn't bring it up enough. And that might be because they comboed the Cap 3 and Civil War. Whereas we might have first and maybe even second act of a Cap 3 movie where Bucky's on the run and we get to deal with that turmoil of him on his own. Here, he had to be found pretty quick for the sake of the rest of the story to move. So that is a slight negative, though Bucky himself is fine, has some fun moments, good fight scenes when he gets all mind control. He definitely becomes more intimidating, so they did a good job with that.
Yeah, so that's cool. One of my favorite moments of the movie, I think this is going to become a gif-able moment, is when Cap and Agent 13 kiss, and then he just looks back and just gets the head nod. That's, of course, that was designed for the internet. That was designed to be a meme. I'm absolutely sure of it, and it's a great moment anyway. So now let's move on to the more interesting team.
Yeah,
I only say that because we've got two newcomers, which we'll get to the spider in the room in a second.
Nice. Nice.
So first, let's talk about the man. Wait, we didn't even talk about Cap. Oh my god!
I thought we were going to get to that.
Yeah,
with
we'll
story
do
and stuff,
Cap
'cause
and
they're more
Iron
central.
Man later.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Serious
so
stuff to divulge into there.
all right, so let's start with who should we start with? Let's do the newcomers at the end.
We start with War
Do you
Machine.
want to start? I was about to say War Machine.
Yeah,
War Machine-
everybody was looking for a character death, and I'm just like, why didn't they kill War Machine?
Because they put it in the trailer.
No, but I'm just like, okay, forget the trailer politics aside. Based on narrative, if there should have been any character death, it should have been Rhodey, because that moment would have been so much more effective if he had died. And then that's how, because I love how at the end Tony basically becomes the emotion takes over, and I'm just like, Rhodey's he got hurt real bad, but he's not totally dead. I'm just like, no, screw that. Come on, Marvel, dip your toes in the water a little bit more.
You know
kill
what? I'm going to say
a
it.
guy.
Maybe that's what I'm saying. This movie is kind of confirming Marvel's kind of a coward.
In a
as
way,
company.
In a way. They're too afraid to let go of some of their characters.
What's the gutsiest thing they've done?
Ant-Man.
Killing off Quicksilver. What?
Quicksilver was introduced in one movie, and then he got
so
introduced in
you didn't even...
movie plus one credit scene. So
yeah.
Anyway. Crossbones.
I think it's just a matter of they're not ready to let go of the. I think Infinity War is going to be death,
a bloodbath,
death. I think they're ready.
Let's not make any assumptions though, because we all thought someone was going to die in this, and it didn't happen.
I know, but
so
think about
you
this
know
way.
what,
Iron Man,
Marvel, you're cowards. You're scared.
Yeah, but
stop being scared.
Okay, but think about it this way: we knew that they were moving forward with Iron Man, so we knew he wasn't going to kick the bucket. And then you think about Cap, and they probably want to use that character and squeeze more out of him. So on a business standpoint, it makes sense why there was no death. But think about War Machine. He's a dispensable character. He barely has much of a role anymore. He's basically Iron Man's sidekick at this point.
Yeah, he really never had an arc to begin with.
He
He's always just kind of been
the bucket.
Conscience.
In the trailer, when I first saw the trailer, I thought he died. That's why I was whoa.
He was the most alive character in the movie because they showed that in the trailer. Because they would never show an actual death in the trailer.
I know, but that's what I thought that because I didn't think I thought the nosebleed is sort of a sign for dead, whatever.
Yeah, isn't that the universal sign for this character is dying?
Exactly. I was heartbeat detected. And I'm like,
anyway, who's
Black
next?
Widow?
Black Widow?
Good. She's always really charming. Her fight
She
scenes
is
are always
probably
awesome.
the most fleshed out character in this entire universe. Honestly.
No, I disagree.
No,
but she's in there. She's up. She's up.
She has a nice little conflict and an arc. When I said that they all had many arcs, I think I was being a little too much. I think they all have conflicts. I think a lot of them have enough conflict to sort of make them interesting.
And it made sense that she turned against Tony So that was her
Well, I
kind of
mean,
arc moment
yeah.
conflict thing. And I liked that she was initially on Tony's side, though. It made sense for her to think that way. Like the writers definitely, that's one thing. Like the Civil War, let me say that if it wasn't clear at the beginning, the Civil War stuff I think is way better than the Cap 3 stuff. I think Civil War, and we'll get to this, I'm sure, with kind of like the philosophical back and forth, but like they really thought through who should be on each team. It wasn't just, well,
Yeah.
we need to have it even, so, and you know, that it very much felt like
Yeah.
they were, you know, thinking.
Having
it
Black
through.
Widow against Hawkeye, that was something.
We're still friends, right?
Because like they're
Yeah, it's better
Yeah.
than how hard
Yeah,
candy. Good stuff.
like, and
Always
I
good
will
stuff.
say, did she sort of like drop the fact that the Winter Soldier and her had like a history? Isn't that like? Didn't she say that?
Yeah,
At one point.
he shot her, remember?
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah,
but,
during
like,
a random assignment, you know, way back during her spy days. So
Oh, okay, that's right. I thought they were like buddies or.
I didn't
don't know.
really,
mean, know
I
it
didn't
doesn't
that
make
really
sense,
really
but-
process. In fact, I was actually a little like confused as to why that was happening.
well, okay, well, who else?
Anyway,
to get to my
There's
vision.
somebody. There's some
Vision.
Oh.
Vision.
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 All right.
Domestic
holding-
Paul Bettany.
I
The
am holding
sweaters.
my Vision bobblehead right now. I absolutely adore the Vision, like so much. Probably my favorite MCU character right now. He is
Oh, wow,
delightful in this. Him trying to be domestic is just so goofy yet so cool,
Yeah.
kind of.
The fact he's wearing like domestic clothes is so weird, but it totally works.
And his introduction was just the best. He just walks through a wall.
Yeah.
Yes, Vision doesn't understand humans. It's great.
And
then-
I'm really okay. And even all things aside, I'm really glad that Scarlet Witch sort of shut him down. I really appreciate that because I don't want every single character in this universe to be paired up with every single female character to be paired up with somebody.
Oh,
I
I
think
mean, that's
it's
clearly
happening
not
though.
the path.
I know it's going to happen, but at least they're drawing it out a bit. Like
And
instead of
guys-
Vision saying like,
Everyone who was doubting me after Age of Ultron, don't doubt me anymore. It's happening.
"Oh yeah, yeah.
What do you mean?
And I'm very
What, the
excited.
Vision Scarlet Witch romance?
Yeah.
yeah."
Of course
It
that
is
was
happening.
happening. Why would anybody? I mean, it was clear.
A bunch of people doubted me after Age of Ultron. I'm like, no.
I did
That's-
too. I
wow.
actually didn't notice
I
it
don't
until
know.
I saw it the second
I
time.
don't know who was doubting you. Whoever was doubting that did not.
Well,
see the
yeah, not
signs.
you two.
But wait a
But,
minute. I don't
yeah.
think. I don't think is Black Widow like being paired with anyone romantically? Question
No.
mark?
Hulk.
Oh, I thought that
right.
was done. I thought that sort of ended.
Well,
with,
until
like,
he
Hulk
comes back
leaving.
for Infinity War. Anyway, guys, we
Yeah.
gotta stay
Whatever.
focused.
Yeah.
Okay.
Vision, I love
anyway-
that he was kind of like omnipotent and all that. You know, he's really powerful, but then he messed up.
He messes up. Oh,
Yeah.
that's
And
such
why?
a great moment.
Why did he mess up? Because of love.
No, and
It's
you know
gonna
what else?
happen.
And you know what's even you know what even is like better adding to that? He was basically Tony's creation. Like Tony, that
Mm-hmm.
is Jarvis in there, and like Tony
Yeah,
has a strong connection to him, and he's the one that screws up and like shoots down his best friend. Brilliant character stuff going on here, people. That's one of the main reasons I like this film a lot.
All right.
Can we talk about?
So okay, let's.
Okay.
It's time to address the two newcomers.
Yeah.
Here we go.
It's like Smash Brothers. Like
Honestly, I say we build to the most important new character. I say we start with
Yeah.
Spidey then.
Okay.
wait, no, I thought we were going to do the opposite.
But Black Panther's
do
way
Black
more
Panther then?
important.
All right,
In
Spider-Man.
story
All right,
terms, yeah.
I'll just say this. Now, Spider-Man: Homecoming is my most anticipated film of next year. Holy crap, they got this kid down. Dang, best part of the movie. Best part of the movie.
No.
I know it's every.
disagree with that, but I will say
I genuinely think he's the best part of the movie.
here's the only
Now,
problem.
I will say,
Sorry, go on. I
I will say, Peter Parker. I don't know, but Spider-Man definitely the best part of the movie.
Yeah, see, that's what I
down.
wasn't sold on. Like, I liked Spider-Man. I liked how he talked a lot in the battle, and like the people were like, you're not. This is a battle. You're not supposed to talk. Peter Parker, I'm not so sold on, and I think that's mainly because I don't think that voice fits him. Like, I don't know.
Well, I think it's because we're so used to older, like not older, but like
okay. I so appreciate that they actually got a younger. He's 19. The actor.
Yeah.
Like, thank you. It's a huge difference, surprisingly, just to actually have the correct age. Like, I never bought Tobey Maguire. Never bought Andrew Garfield. Thank you. I bought this. Like, just seeing Robert Downey Jr. interact with him was like that. There's a huge age difference. Like, you can actually see it. And it's clear that he's out of his element because he is so much.
Speaking of
younger
age
than the rest of
differences, Aunt May. that was weird. Was that weird for you guys? That was very weird. me.
I'm not complaining.
and?
That's all I'm saying.
Just because like the previous two AMAs have been very old, and this one is like
I think it
mid-30s. Like,
offered
it's just-
great fodder for Tony. It's like you're
Yeah.
you're
Oh,
unusually
yeah.
attractive.
So-
That,
aunt.
do you think they're gonna do that? You know what I mean? Like,
No.
do you think they're gonna do that? No.
No.
Probably not,
So,
but it would be funny
think-
to think about.
I think the thing about Peter Parker versus Spider-Man, like the Peter Parker side, I didn't really get his whole speech. Like it's still looking out for the little guy. That seemed really generic and not specific. But what did feel very specific is actually what I believe was a much better explanation of the "with great power comes great responsibility." Like that line it's a good line, but it's almost too flowery sounding to mean anything. This movie had it mean something. He said, "When you can do the things that I do and you don't, when the bad things happen, that's on you. It's because of you."
Good.
That's
I
a
didn't even
much
notice that.
Yeah.
that's a much better way of saying that, having that sentiment. I think it was much better. That's more what's the word? It's grounded. Like that makes sense. It isn't some
Down to
meme
earth.
on
Down to
Facebook
earth.
that your aunt shares,
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah.
I don't know, like Peter Parker, like I understand he's supposed to be a nerdy guy and that.
I
but,
didn't
like,
get that vibe.
Yeah, I didn't buy that. I didn't buy he was like super nerdy.
He's
and
I think he's kind of a snob, like a bit of
Yeah,
a bit
like, his
smarmy,
hair
which
is
I
all
no,
slicked
which I
down.
like. I think that's a different approach, and I liked it a lot. I don't know.
I didn't
know.
get that.
Okay, fine. Maybe Spider-Man wasn't the best part of the movie, but he was one of the best parts.
I
I
like
just-
that
I don't-
as Peter, his mannerisms were kind of fidgety almost because
Yeah.
he's
Yeah.
overstimulated all the time with all the Spidey sense stuff.
Right,
That
which
was
I-
a
Yeah.
really
It was
a
interesting
nice
approach to
touch.
the character.
It's a nice touch.
Yeah,
I
which
just- I
clearly,
just
and I think that was Tom Holland that brought that in. It seemed to be very
Oh
performance
yeah,
based.
Tom Holland is doing a good job. I want to point that. I think Tom Holland is doing a good job on both ends. I just think he's British, right? Is Tom Holland British?
Yeah.
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 Oh, it's so obvious. It's so. If
What?
you've heard the guy,
Oh, is it?
If
I
you've
didn't
heard
know
the
this.
guy talk and you've seen him in other stuff, and then you hear him here, it's like,
Well,
oh
yeah,
my
I
God.
saw him in
His
the heart
voice-
of the sea.
his voice
It's-
sounds
it's-
so.
I saw him in the heart of the
weird.
Civil War, but I mean that's just me.
Good one. And like Martin Freeman does it a little bit also. A pet peeve of mine in movies is when British people have to like mask their accents and not. And there are some people who do it well, but here I don't think it feels like a different voice. I don't know. It just doesn't feel natural to me. And I think Peter Parker's just like kind of really awkward. Yet they're trying to balance like the awkward with like the smarmy. And it doesn't. Peter Parker's
That's
work
Peter
for me.
Parker, though. That's
think
his.
it
That's his
worked.
thing.
I think it really worked.
I don't know. The script was good,
on
but
the
the writing, but yeah.
See, that's funny. I'm about to disagree with you there, Larry. On
Okay.
the Spider-Man
Free
side
to.
of the Peter Parker Spider-Man thing, during the fight, I totally get that what Spidey does is he kind of talks too much and he has kind of the childlike, snarkiness
Enthusiasm.
and enthusiasm and almost playfulness. I get that. And so the approach was dead on. I just think what he was saying was not right. Like, why is he saying you have the right to remain silent? What? Is he like...
Because he's trying to be. He's a
Like-
tryhard. He's like Finn.
But that's not what Finn would say. Like that's just
Okay, no, that's not. But it's not. I mean, Finn.
line-
You know.
completely that's just bad. That was a
That
bad line.
that was a bad line, admittedly.
And-
Really
and
not.
other-
I mean, I would think you guys would have a problem with the Empire Strikes Back one, which is a bit
No.
on the nose.
I thought that was fun.
Well, I think it was kind of funny
Have you
that they
guys seen
tried
that really
referencing Star
old
Wars.
movie? It's like, all
Yeah,
right,
okay,
all
yeah.
right, dude.
Yeah.
Granted, that's a bit much, but I like this.
I mean, it was
the
pretty. It's
idea.
pretty culturally aware, I would say.
It's really weird how they incorporated a Star Wars like
Exactly,
part
yeah.
into the action. That's pretty cool though.
And like he feels. I know he's like swinging around everywhere, but like he feels kind of rubbery, and I don't even know how like that. How I know that sounds like a weird word, but like in opposition to everyone else who's like has metallic suits on, and it feels very there's a person running. Spider-Man feels very like CGI and very just sort of wispy and I mean I get that's his character, but like it was a very I always felt like when I was looking at like the group shots, I felt like Spider-Man was photoshopped into all of them because he just looked.
Well,
so
I think he was actually photoshopped
ripped.
out of them for all the marketing stuff.
Yeah.
Oh,
Like, I'm pretty sure.
probably. Maybe that's why. But like, I don't know. Like, I'm looking forward to Homecoming. I also love how they dropped the word Homecoming. By
Oh,
the way, in this
man.
movie.
Okay,
like,
no,
3
no, no.
times.
Yeah.
know.
Okay.
I don't-
Okay. No. We will
That's
talk about that
confusing.
later. We have to talk about it later. I'm
That's
sorry. We
so
have to.
confusing.
I know, but
Yeah,
I'm
we
looking
have to,
forward to
because
if
that
that's
was what-
connected. If it is, but
That was
I
the
like
biggest
it.
like what the H moment ever. All right.
I do like the character, and I like where they're going with it, and I appreciate how it's staying more to the source material, as I've heard. So.
Anyway, so let's move on to the very important newcomer,
He's my favorite.
Black
Panther's
Panther.
my favorite.
I really like Black Panther. Let me just say this: the fact is, when Marvel said we're done with origin stories, I think they actually meant we're going to take origin stories. I'm going to put them in other movies.
Well, yeah.
There you go. Like this really is an origin story, right?
Yeah,
Even
it
though
is.
they even have the big moment like in the Iron Man origin story where he reveals that he's Iron Man. We have Black Panther revealing he's Black Panther. That's
Well, in
King
a bit, of a,
T'Challa.
in a,
Like,
bit of a
it's-
different way. I mean, it's less
Yeah.
about it's not as much of a secret as like Iron Man is, but
It's pretty incredible how they managed to hide pretty much all of his story, even though Black Panther's story is a very important part of this movie.
No, it's brilliant. I think they integrated it brilliantly into the story, and I think
Yeah, he
that
felt very natural.
yeah, and Black Panther's just so awesome. He's so
yeah, dude, Chadwick Boseman.
so awesome.
Dang, that kid's that guy's got a career ahead of him.
I love.
This is my favorite character.
This is my favorite character of the MCU so far, and it's not just because everyone says that Black Panther is basically the Batman of the MCU. That's not why.
He doesn't act at all like Batman.
Well, I'm just saying in terms of character origin and costume and things like that. But I'm saying the reason I love his character so much is because he just has such a first of all, Chadwick Boseman has such a great presence as this character. I love him in this movie. I love I love his chemistry with all the other characters. I love the costume. I love how the character moves in the costume. The retractable claws thing is so cool. And the moment at the end with Baron Zemo is one of my favorite moments in the whole movie because it gives Black Panther this fantastic intelligence and like sort of this. You mentioned, Sean, how one of the characters feels like sort of above all this, like Clint. You said that he feels like that. I think that Black Panther sort of has a plane above, sort of in that way as well. He doesn't let vengeance take over him. His character arc feels complete. And it's just, oh my god. Such a good. I'm sorry I had to ramble a little bit, but this is like,
he's a very different character in this MCU. He's not really like a lot of characters in these movies are very quippy, which I love, which I adore. Like, don't ever change. But like Black Panther he's more serious, but not to the point where it's a bit like funny. Like he's quietly vengeful, and I think that's very good. It's a very nuanced, very enjoyable performance. I think it was awesome, and the fact that he learns everything on his own, even though it's kind of obvious when he hears, this was all a plan. He kind of looks down. I mean, that's sort of on the nose, but it's also visual acting, or that's visual storytelling through an actor's performance, and I really enjoyed that. And yes, the costume, the powers, it's all freaking awesome.
Good.
Why are we waiting until February 2018 to see this movie?
I know. I'm so mad.
Ryan Coogler, you won't let me down. Well, you won't let me down, so I won't tell you not to. So. Anyway, Sean, what do you think?
Well, yeah, again, Black Panther is my favorite character in the movie. Not saying he's like my favorite MCU character, but just in this movie, he was kind of the standout. Except Scarlet Witch, which again, she isn't new in this movie, but she was on her own and had her own thing finally, and she played a major role. But I think, yeah, he isn't quippy. He isn't fun in that sense. He's a serious person. And that's his role. He's a prince. Right, and so we've think about who all of our superheroes are. There's kind of the idea of superheroes are just people with powers, and MCU taps into that sometimes. But who do we have? We have like a soldier. We have billionaire, playboy, philanthropist. We've got some spies with this, but there's always a person underneath, and so this is a very different type of person underneath the superhero, like the costume. This is a legitimate royalty. This is just totally different. You see what I'm getting at?
Yeah,
so the way he holds
yeah.
himself, the way he talks and addresses others, it's very different. He can't be making quips. What kind of prince of this super advanced?
I wouldn't say. Quips is interesting, but he has a couple of let's see.
Oh sure,
them
he's
try.
humorous. He's not
he has
brooding and
humorous moments.
somber.
Right. Yeah.
But he's not. He takes himself seriously. And a lot of the characters don't, or maybe too much, like Steve.
Yeah.
He felt very regal. He felt like a person that was important. And that was the performance as well as the writing, just the way he acted and how he talked just felt. He had weight. And his fighting style is, there's always the complaint that I see in the MCU, and it's from, the directors themselves and people watching. It's very punchy. What does Iron Man do? Well, he's got his lasers and missiles, but he's punching a lot. Cavine's punching. Black Widow, Hawkeye, they kind of just punch.
Black Widow
or
really punches. You see that Winter Soldier moment where she literally just shoves 3 right in her his forehead.
Yeah, and then Hulk and Thor, they're punching.
But
This guy is slashing and swiping
he's
and clawing.
flipping.
It's
He's
just
jumping.
different. He's agile. No one else is agile. Everyone else is landing punches. He's cutting straight through all of his attacks, and it's visually
And he's very
wonderful.
smart.
He is.
He is a tactician.
Yeah, he's a good fighter. And
and
it's
I
not
love-
like Iron Man who's using technology or Captain that's using his strength a lot.
Yeah.
He's outsmarting everyone just in the minute-to-minute fighting. I felt like he was always one step ahead. Captain was, barely dodging swipes, and so was Bucky. This felt like he was always had the upper hand, and it was his own doing. It wasn't like the other character was at fault. He was just that good and knew what he was doing. Love his accent. I could listen to that just like all day.
So
Yeah.
good.
And it was so funny.
Yeah. So
As much as
Yeah.
I was loving, I loved Black Panther, and I loved this new character. It took me until this third time, like earlier today, when I just suddenly in the middle of the movie said, "I'm getting a whole movie with this guy." Like
right?
it didn't
Right?
click.
Yeah.
For
Right?
some reason, like I knew we were going to be a Black Panther movie, and then I saw Black Panther. And those
So
two things
good.
were completely separate in my head until like the middle of my third time watching. Like, oh, yay! Like it was just this eureka. Awesome. Main character is this guy.
Yep.
So, yeah.
all right. Speaking of main characters, we should probably get to the two main players of this whole thing. Should we do Cap first?
Well, it's his movie, so we should probably start with Tony
Yeah.
and build up.
So this is really weird. Cap is my favorite superhero. He's my favorite. I love him, and though he was great in this, I really don't have much else to say about him. He did what Chris Evans did. What Chris Evans did, provided an amazing performance for Captain America that was very much in line with this character that he's created, and that's kind of it. I don't really have much else to say. Did you guys?
I think that it's important. I would like to note that I think, people are always saying, well, what? A lot of people would always complain before this movie come out. Why is this a Captain America movie when all the Avengers are in it? No. This is a Captain America film. This is a perfect continuation of the character. And, people are still trying to argue with me that Captain America is an interesting character. And I'm like, I'm just.
What?
What?
It's
I'm
the
just-
same.
what?
It's the same reason why people will argue that Superman isn't interesting. It's not about the character; it's about who gets him right. And unlike Superman, Marvel gets Cap right.
Yeah,
So-
I'm just like
Every time.
I'm just like there's a great arc here. You have and Civil War sort of I don't know if it
Okay,
necessarily.
I'm gonna stop you there. What arc?
What are you talking? You're not. You
Yeah,
don't see
that's
it.
that's the thing.
What are you talking
Cap's
about?
arc is that he's trying to figure out the difference. He's trying to figure out which side he should be on, and
No, he
he's kind of
doesn't.
already.
He decides early on, and then it just gets more confirmed for him, to the point where he almost kills Tony.
Well, yes, but but the thing about Cap is that he's always trying to do. He ends up getting into this serious confrontation with Tony, and we think that they're gonna make amends. Because Cap is just that kind of guy. He doesn't usually leave things. He doesn't go this deep. And I understand if if Tony had been killed, let's say I don't know, Cap totally slashed the shield through Tony and just split him in half or something, whatever,
Jeez.
and he killed him, right? Yes, it would have been more effective. I agree with you. However, I think the moment where just that is the moment where he's officially the first movie. He's all about the law. He's all about working with the government and being the good guy. And then in Winter Soldier, he deals with all these gray areas about is the government really doing what's right. And then in Civil War, he officially says, no, they're not. I'm out of here. And that's that big moment with the shield.
It's not though. He was always in conflict. This whole movie, he was rebelling against this. See, that's the thing. To me, the beginning felt very much like a continuation. The point of Winter Soldier was to kind of look back on the first one and say, he liked, no one to fight for, kind of like Finn, or he just didn't know what he'd do without working for Shield and then the Avengers and stuff. And Sam's like, what do you like to do? He doesn't know. And then the fact that he had to fight for himself, he had to take down Shield and Hydra. That was kind of that arc that he was kind of fighting his own war. And so then it made sense that the film started with him on his own again, where he was against Tony, he was against half of the Avengers, and his only real link was with Bucky, and a few of the other Avengers were with him, of course. But
Right.
so that's where that was a good starting point, but it didn't go anywhere. He was always at odds with Tony. He was always going to try to stop. And that's the thing, he didn't kill Tony, and I think that would have been out of character, to be quite honest with you. But if he had killed Tony, that would have been a definitive against that. He just took off his power source so he couldn't fight. What has he been doing this entire movie? That
Okay,
there's no
yeah.
change.
Well,
Now
I
that I
wouldn't
think about it, I don't think either of these characters have an arc. I believe their relationship
I disagree.
has an arc.
I disagree. I think that there is a
Well,
clear
explain to
arc
me the
happening.
arc.
What?
Explain
Okay.
it to me, like you
Okay. Well,
haven't yet.
I just. First of all, I'm talking. Okay, Cap's arc, I admit, is more of a multi-movie thing. I think the arc isn't necessarily complete in Civil War. I think it's really only complete when you look at all three movies.
No,
but I
don't,
will.
That's the thing. He ends at the same point he began, as far as I'm concerned.
And I think Tony does something kind of the same thing.
I disagree.
think.
No, I would disagree with that too. I think the great part about Tony is that right in the beginning of the movie, I think he has that moment with with a character who was that Viola Davis. No? No,
No,
I'm sorry.
I thought so
didn't-
too. I thought so too.
Yeah, I know. I
but-
thought that was like the character from Suicide Squad. Whatever. Weird. That would have been funny. It's just I sort of like how Tony's inner demons come back again, especially with like Age of Ultron. Like Age of Ultron was really about he's hurting the people that he's friends with, and now it's sort of the personal stories and the emotions sort of get to him. So that's why the Sokovia Accords happen. And then he's trying to sort of he lets the emotions sort of get him, and then finally at the very end it just totally overpowers him so much so that he goes past, because I think there's always like sort of an at odds with Cap and Tony. I admit that yes, they're at odds with each other, but nothing's like, they have a huge fight, but like nothing's super set in stone. They're both trying to be friendly with one another, and they both realize that they should be working together, but there's always this constant battle going on between their emotions and their logic, which is why I think the ending with Tony is such a great character moment. Even if Sean, you believe it has nothing to do with the past movie, it's still a great moment. It's still a great moment.
It really isn't. So here's the thing about Tony.
Ugh, I can't.
One of my favorites in the
disagree.
MCU, and I'm not like, breaking from the mainstream to say that. But
Of course not.
What I loved how he started here was that he was finally the responsible one. And that's what was so funny is Tony was the playboy, but his arc is kind of, brought him to more maturity and stuff. But still, even back Age of Ultron, he messed up. And he was in the wrong to try to build Ultron without, some form of safeguard in place. He clearly was in over his head. He should have known that. So he was still kind of irresponsible in that regard. And so when he finally said, we need to be put in check, it was so refreshing, and it felt real though. That finally Tony, it kind of caught up to Tony. And it was a little rushed. Again, this could have been its own movie. Civil War could have been its own movie, and Cap 3 could have been its own movie. But again, they were intertwined fine. They added tension to each other. But so that could have been better. But I loved the idea that Tony was finally taking responsibility and Steve was the one resisting. Because on paper, you'd expect Steve to be the one pushing for this, right? Where he's kind of like, we got to make sure we're responsible for people. And, he was the one in the army just there to take orders, all that. But and I'm glad they didn't do that, because when you actually look at the characters on a deeper level, which they clearly have a better understanding than just that level, these are the sides they should actually fall on.
As the events of Winter Soldier taught us, like, Cap isn't one to trust the government at this point. He
Right.
trusts his own gut.
And again,
Which,
and that's all he did this movie. And so,
Yeah.
and so here's the thing. It's the same problem. Tony started there. And again, I was completely Team Iron Man. Like, the most emotionally affecting moment for me was at the airport after Spider-Man comes in and he says, I'm trying to keep you from tearing the Avengers apart. Because Tony is actually, for once, doing the right thing. And then and what else can he do? It's forcing him to fight against one of his friends, but he has to. And I felt so bad for him because it was clearly difficult.
And the fact and how he treated Spider-Man when Spider-Man went down, he's like, no, stay down. Just please stay down.
Because he didn't want more blood on his hands.
Yeah. I just want to say, I will absolutely say, Robert Downey Jr. not only gave the best performance in this movie, but also the best performance of any movie in the MCU so far. This was this was amazing.
It was really great. It was a great,
especially
moment,
the ending. I thought it was amazing how he broke and it wasn't super obvious. It was just no, not super obvious. It was it wasn't super quick. It was just how we watched him snap, and we could just see all his little subtle movements.
Yep.
Each part of it.
Yes.
A lot of the best moments in this movie are coming from RDJ's performance, and that's kind of on him. So yeah, even
Congrats.
though
Congrats to RDJ.
yeah. So congrats on I don't know that.
incredibly
And
talented
just
guy.
to address the ending again, I don't know what you mean by he finally lets the emotions come through. We need to talk about the ending again at the end.
Where you mean? Wait, no, wait, hold on.
Because Iron Man didn't have an arc either because of the ending. The ending, again, they just screwed this movie up with the ending. I'm sorry. And this was part of it, because Tony wasn't responsible. He reverted. And it just... And I totally get it, but at the same time, since it has no grounding and no build-up and goes against the good character move the movie started with, I hate the ending.
I admit there are elements of it. There are elements of it that I don't like.
This is yours to defend, Larry. I'm yet to hear what Cap's arc is.
What are you talking? I literally explained Cap's arc to you in the movie wise. Again, I admitted that in Civil War, the arc is not fully there.
No, you didn't. I've not heard how Captain is different at the end of this film.
As in comparison from the beginning of the film?
Yeah, he's really not. I love Cap, but this is not. Yeah,
Well,
it's not
I think it's a matter of, I don't know if he's necessarily different, but
then
but
there's
like,
no arc.
Well, I'm saying what I appreciate about it though is that it's been deepened, and I think that Cap goes through a lot of like varying emotions. See, there's this idea that he wants to stick to his own side. I think the real important idea behind a lot of these arcs are they're vehement to their side, right? They're vehement to their argument, but at the same time, they know that the Avengers being apart is not a good idea, and you want to console, and they want to like keep their friendship going, and they want to agree with their differences and stuff. I just want to. Well, exactly. That's the beautiful part about it. That is the character change. You say that moment was that would have been, if he killed Tony, that would have been out of character. I think that's the wrong way to phrase it. I think it would have been a major character change, and that's what happens in climaxes. You have these. It is the moment where Steve was just like, "No, done. I'm not." And again, the letter sort of ruins this. I admit it, but. He has the moment where he's like, "No, I'm not gonna make amends with you. I have my side. Screw off." And Tony's like, "Yeah, you too. Screw off."
But
I like
why
that.
was it? But how is that different from when they were fighting at the airport, or even before then, when he refused to sign?
Well, because there's a whole moment before that huge moment with Baron Zemo where they become friendly again.
There's no change. The whole point of the movie is that they're at odds. There's no difference.
Yeah, but they're a lot less at odds before Baron Zemo than at the airport fight. They have a whole moment where they sort of just are like, okay, let's put aside our differences. Let's defeat Baron Zemo. But no, the emotion comes back to Tony.
No, what do you mean emotion comes back? He never had the emotion. Here's the thing. The philosophical differences between Tony Stark and Steve Rogers is very much grounded on optimism and cynicism. Steve is like, has the whole faith in people. Tony thinks they need to be kept in check because it's based off his own, mistakes he's made and wish that he had been put in check despite, his own arrogance and ego. That's what the Civil War conflict is. But at the end of this movie, the conflict is, he killed my mom. What? That's so weak.
Well, I mean, that's a personal story. That is a personal.
I would argue differently, but guys, we have to keep moving. We are already an hour over this. We have so much to go over.
But this is important.
This is the most important part of our discussion right now, because we vehemently disagree on this main point. And I think the reason why that moment with Tony works is because he is so affected by that moment where, like, she talks about, "I lost my son," and Baron Zemo's like, "I lost my family." So now he looks at the Winter Soldier and he lets the emotion of those moments get
That's
to
so
him.
vague, Larry. You keep saying the emotion. What? Like, actually walking through
Not
what you're
only that. All right, fine. I'll throw my hand in the ring.
Soldier.
Not only that, but it proves that whole moment proves that it was never truly about the Sokovia Accords between him and Steve.
Right.
Okay.
And the Winter Soldier. There was something far deeper that was hiding with Tony. That's what I appreciate about this film. Like,
that's great.
As opposed to
That's
the previous times when the heroes realized, oh, hey, we're all being forced to hate each other because of the villain. They were like, okay, and even with all the right places and all the right sides, Tony still lost it, and I think that's actually very good. I thought that
is
ending fight was
fantastic character moment.
But it wasn't.
It
was
is
basic.
Flawed.
It was
the character
basic.
is flawed. He's a flawed character. That's why that moment
but that's
works.
the thing. But that's not a specific flaw. Him getting upset because someone killed his parents. Yeah. Okay. Unique. Refined. I'm glad we've had 7 movies with Tony Stark to get this incredibly revealing specific note.
Okay, yeah, well, we've never had a moment with.
And the theme of this movie is not revenge. That is not the theme of this movie. And the end almost made it seem like it was, with Black Panther talking to Zemo. Like, it wasn't. The Accords had nothing to do with revenge. This was nothing. This came out of nowhere, thematically speaking. Like, obviously, the whole movie was building to it. It started with the crash, and it kept revealing more and more. But also, I saw that coming a mile away because we actually knew it from Winter Soldier. I thought that was very odd that they were building that up. It doesn't mean anything to the rest of the movie. Think about this. If you just started the movie with this scene, and they're investigating, and then it turns out that Bucky, who Steve's been, defending and, like, standing up for, killed Tony's parents, and Steve holds him back, would it make as much sense that he attacked? Absolutely. It would be exactly the same, completely unchanged. Because in that moment, that's a pretty horrible thing to learn. And, a person you used to trust as your friend was keeping it from you. And so he acted that way. You could completely remove the climax of this film from the film and it would work. And that is a massive flaw. That is an indefensible flaw. The climax needs to be the film itself, brought to a singularity. Not this unrelated vengeance spree. The Accords was just a vehicle. It's like they didn't actually care.
It's a MacGuffin. It's a MacGuffin, the Sokovia Accords. That's how I put it. It's a
That's
MacGuffin.
insulting.
How
Or
is that
they're
insulting?
idiots.
That's actually kind of brilliant.
No, it's really not.
Are a
Because
MacGuffin.
guess what? Guess what? Tony being pissed at the Winter Soldier kill his parents. Vengeance, dull, boring. All these characters that they've set up for movies and movies, debating a really big philosophical issue of like oversight versus individual will and accountability. That is so much more interesting. And the movie spends most of its time on that, so they clearly agree. And so for them at the end to resort to this vengeance it offends me. The more I think about it, the
well,
worse
I'm
it
sorry
gets.
you got offended, but I don't think it was completely unrelated. I think it makes a lot of sense. I kind of think
you have to tell me
Sokovia
how it's
Accords.
related.
All right, guys. No, that's quite enough from both of you.
Okay,
But
you
this
keep
is
saying
the
that
movie.
it's not related, but I've brought it up at least 3 times at this point. I'm pretty sure.
You haven't. How is it related?
I just said that Tony had that
the
whole moment with
emotions.
his personal problem in the beginning with that woman. He sees how much that conflicts him. He sees that the Winter Soldier, because like all these people are blaming the
This
Winter
is so
Soldier,
vague.
right? They want him dead.
This is so vague. Specifics.
You mean the
Is it
emotion about dealing with
accountability?
loss? About
Is
dealing
this
with
about
loss of a family
accountability?
member?
Because Tony wanted accountability in the Avengers and he was holding Bucky responsible? That's a bit confused because the whole idea of oversight
Excuse me, I'm in the
isn't...
middle of something.
Should we talk to your friends?
No,
Oh, I'm sorry.
drunk idiots.
Yeah. Seriously, Max. I mean, they've been pretty good so far, but I've heard them a little bit. So.
Sorry about that, guys.
Look,
Can you cut this out, Sean? Thank you.
Look, we should move on because there are other things I want to talk about, but I'm
Yeah,
just.
really,
I
guys.
But this,
just
no, this
wanna-
is the movie. As far as I'm concerned, this is where it fails.
I don't.
Yeah,
I think
okay,
I admit.
that's-
I will admit, Sean, that it's not perfect. I agree that some of your
It's bad.
faults with it are there, and I agree with you. But I think that there are. That it's still, and I mean, it on its own. I think there's still merit in the idea that as a moment, it's really effective. It's well
Right,
acted.
so-
It's well done, and I really enjoyed it.
Right. The pain that Tony feels, great performance when he turns to Steve, like, did you know? It worked. It's great. But it had nothing to do with the rest of the movie. It's completely disjointed and completely unsatisfactory because of that.
Again, this can be argued, but we have other things to do, such as talking about the action. Let's just get this out of the way.
I mean, is it worth talking about anything but the airport scene?
The only thing I want to ask
Hey,
is when I was
there's
going into
good
this, my friend told me
scenes.
that like a few reviews had called this airport scene the greatest like one of the greatest action scenes of all time.
No.
I'm
It's
not
really
going to
good,
be in that department,
of course, but-
it's freaking excellent. Everybody gets a moment. Everything is so well shot, and like the action is excellent in this movie, and the airport scene is the epitome of that. It's great.
Here's
just
my one problem. I think the camera's a bit shaky on the action. Like, dial down
Yeah,
like 20%. It's not full shaky cam.
I was thinking
obviously.
about that,
I can tell
yeah.
the difference
Yeah.
between a shaky camera and shaky cam. This is not shaky cam, don't worry. But it was I would have liked it to stabilize a little bit. Like, again, like 20%. But what's funny about the airport scene is, watch it again. They keep Vision to the sidelines for most of it because they know. Even after, like, he doesn't even appear for a while, but they know. Because think, realistically, guys, Vision would wipe the floor with every single one of them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he is invincible. He's made of vibranium. There's
And
like
the only reason Wanda beat him before is because he more or less let her, and she had the benefit of, like, attacking first when he wasn't expecting it. If Vision was actually fighting,
Scarlet
he
shot
would
first.
destroy all of them, including Thor and Hulk
Yeah.
if they were there.
Yeah,
We're
but
being
Vision's a
frank.
lover, not a fighter. So that's
It's
what
gonna
keeps him. That's
happen,
what holds him
guys.
back.
It's gonna happen.
Yeah,
I will.
so-
I just hate. Well, first of all, the airport scene, great. But let's not forget about the other scenes. There's a great. The opening scene's really fun. I really like the
Yep.
Winter Soldier fight that happens in the Black Panther chase sequence, which is really great. The final
I think
action
the stairway
beat.
scene went on a bit too long, but it did feel like a Bourne movie, which was cool until it just went along a bit too long.
I don't know, I sort of liked how every single hero sort of got his chance to fight Winter Soldier. Then it brought to Black Panther, and finally
No,
we
the
get that
stairway.
huge moment.
Sorry, the stairway when the German special forces were breaking in to capture Bucky, and so he and Steve
yeah,
fought
okay,
out.
okay. I'll
And
admit
then
that's
Black
probably the
Panther
weakest,
appeared and went to the chase.
scene. Yeah, it was the weakest scene in the movie. But again, we also have that last action moment, which is also really good. And I want to bring out the thing I love about this action is the choreography is just, oh my god, it's so good. There are so many like as I watch
whoever
these
does
Marvel.
that, medal. Give him a medal.
Yeah, seriously. As I watch these Marvel movies, there are like, and it's like it's really small moments. It's like these really, really small moments. Like the moment where like, I think it's like, is it Black Widow that like does this motorcycle trick where like she like jumps and like gets on the handlebars and
Bucky.
then oh, it was Bucky. Never mind. But
Like he grabs
Black,
a motorcycle and like,
Yeah,
flips the guy.
like-
flips the guy. He throws the guy off and gets on
Yeah.
like midair and the other way. Yeah.
Just
I also
like,
like at the
oh,
beginning when
man.
Black Widow like she does that rap move,
yeah, that too.
right? on a guy, and then that guy's approaching, and so she like switches over to him mid swing and brings him down too. Like, it's really impressive. And
Yeah.
yeah, Black Panther's fighting style is very unique. This
oh
whole
my God. It's
idea of swiping instead of punching is surprisingly like really
Effective.
different, and I love
Yeah.
it.
It's just
and, like,
there are so many small movies that are just like you not small movies, excuse me, small moments where you're just watching and you're like, whoa, oh my God, and you're watching that, and it's like it immediately invests you in all of these action moments, and there's so much adrenaline, and I think that's why the Russo brothers really direct the best action in the MCU.
I think the coolest like little moment, like that's not significant, but just a cool little moment, was when
Right.
Hawkeye shoots Black Panther, and he catches the arrows right by his face, and they explode, and like it was just a cool moment of like it affected him, but not too much. So they both kind of got their moment to be cool, and just those kind of moments. Yeah, I agree.
And there's also the Hawkeye moment where it's
Yeah.
like I forgot, but hey, you missed, and he's like, look again, and all the cars fly down.
Major look,
Another
yeah.
fantastic.
Yeah, so I think it was. I think the action's awesome, but as you may have noticed, guys, this movie it's not as action packed perhaps as we thought because
Right.
which leads me to the next thing I want to talk about, which is pacing. Let me just say, Captain America: Civil War is one of the longest movies I have ever seen, and
It's
I
the
have seen
longest MCU
far
movie.
longer movies. I have seen far longer movies. Do you know what I mean when I say this?
Yeah.
Like this, I mean, and the weird thing is it never drags. I don't think the pacing is bad, but there's one thing that I think it does wrong. Like another flaw I just did not think to point out earlier. So there's a okay, I'll make this quick. There's a screenwriting philosophy I really like. It's the idea that every scene, the next scene is because of the last scene.
Yeah,
Or,
therefore
like,
a
this
scene happens, not and then
Yeah,
a scene.
this thing happens, then this, like, therefore this thing happens. I really like that, and it's really worked in pretty much most Marvel movies, and here that does not happen. There's so much setup, it's like it jumps between scenes. There's so much to juggle, and though it juggles it well, it does feel overly long after a while.
And I
so I
just-
will say that
Okay.
the quiet scenes I think are great. Like the dialogue is excellent. I think the pacing is good, but it's just not. It's not peak. It's not what Winter Soldier was.
Right, and this is a good time to talk about the discussions. And this movie is way smarter than it probably should be, honestly. With everyone bringing up these different angles to the argument and them discussing it, and
Yeah.
Smarter than
like
it should
those
be.
scenes were good. They were a little repetitive. Like they did the same point a few times, but I'm really glad that they took the time to like actually think this out through the characters, and they each had their angle to it, and they actually talked about it. Because I mean, we haven't brought it up yet, but guys, compare this to Batman vs Superman.
Oh my
Oh, yeah.
God.
There was
Yeah, I would-
never this
yeah.
type of attention to the actual disagreement at hand. And that's the thing. This is why the ending let me down so much, because it wasn't resolved. This philosophical difference between the two sides is very big. It's a very big question, regarding where responsibility lies and how much you should try to prevent / hindsight is it, stuff like that. And so the fact that it wasn't resolved, in fact, it was basically stated. In fact, my least favorite line in the movie, because it kind of sums up my problem with the ending, is during the letter. And Steve says,
Yeah.
"I'm sorry we don't agree on the accords." It's like, wow.
Okay, I'll give
The
you that. The
central
letter's not
conflict
good.
of the movie. At the very end,
yeah.
it's like, sorry we don't agree. It's like, wow, you didn't even like make a stance on it. Like, you didn't resolve it. Sin won. And then you didn't even like make a big deal. It's just like, sorry.
Well, I mean, what do you mean? Well, can you elaborate on? Because I think I didn't expect them to be like, oh well, now I agree with one side, or Tony
Why
finally
not?
agrees with Cap because
The
that's
comic line, the storyline did in the comics, even though it's way
Oh,
worse.
okay, so, yeah,
It's-
well,
the
okay,
movie's
well,
much better than the comics, but
yeah, we weren't really following the comic all that much, to be quite honest.
no. This
looking
was
forward.
unbelievably different, barely
Yeah,
the same.
which
the
for
only
a
things
good,
that shared,
good.
Yeah,
Yeah,
the
but
only
like,
thing it
for a good
shared was the
reason,
heroes
yeah.
were fighting each other. So
But I think a resolution in this case is a little overrated. I did not expect a resolution.
resolution is never overrated.
Well, okay. Well, let me rephrase that. I think closed resolution is overrated. Open
Well, like-
resolution is always something that I'm
Sean,
willing to
would
take.
you have liked it if, like, in the letter, Captain America included, like, I think maybe, like, perhaps you are right and I am also right, and maybe you should just, like, understand that. Like, would you want that too in the letter? Like,
No,
because it's
I
not a
just-
resolution to.
There needed to be some form of resolution to that conflict, because again, the resolution of the movie was with Zemo, was with Bucky. And
Yeah.
how was Zemo resolved? With Black Panther. By the way, I want to mention, I actually love that idea. because Civil War is between Tony and Steve. And so the fact that they were fighting and then the villain of the movie was left to the other important character, Black Panther, was a great idea, a great move. So I was really happy when they did that. But the fact remains that the only resolution that existed wasn't between the two main characters. And that's bad. That's
Well,
like, that's just,
Zemo's resolution's pretty open. I mean, it's like what
no, it's
happens is
not.
like, did you?
He
It's like,
succeeded. He should have succeeded at least.
Well,
But,
I
like,
mean, he didn't-
He was dealt with. His plot came to
Yeah.
fruition, and it was dealt with. That was the closure of the film. Basically, that was the only closure because, but at the same time, it almost again there is almost closure between Steve and Tony, but it was completely unearned. It was just in a letter. He said, "Sorry, call us when you need us."
That
It's all
had to
basically
okay.
the same.
My own okay. Honestly, I really do think, as much as I like what Marvel Studios has done with its business stuff, I really do think that everything to the point where Captain America almost killed Tony was all mandated. Like, was all like, okay, they got like. Did you guys know that there were actually like 6 different death scenes for each character's filmed, just in case like what would happen in the original, like in the final product? Do you guys know that?
no. What are
Like
you
that,
talking
like-
about?
No, it's true. They filmed like 6 different death scenes, like in case of whatever Marvel decided.
Yeah, again,
So-
I think they didn't want to kill Iron Man or Cap because of business mandated reasons, and it's very understandable as to why. Although I admit, if somebody had died, which should have been a War Machine, but if somebody were to die, it would have been a bit more effective. I'm not always saying the
War
character
Machine
death
would have
is the most
been-
effective
well, like-
way, but you know that's
I just,
I agree.
like-
It should have happened.
Because, yeah, I guess the ending is the biggest deal, but also, it's also vague in that we really don't know what Steve is talking about outside of, I'm sorry, we disagree. Like, he says the Avengers are yours. Like, what is, I mean, Tony left the Avengers, bro. Like, he's...
Yeah, but like
I guess-
and the Avengers aren't really his. All of the big Avengers that are still working are on like Cap's side. So it's like
Yeah, so...
it's very. I mean, the reason I don't see. I agree with Sean, and I really don't like the very end because I think that it was a cop out to have them
it's
all
like they
saved
demanded
by
a happy ending.
Yeah, I know. It's like I think it was a cop
Again,
out that they
Marvel's
were all
kind of a
saved
coward.
from the jail.
Yeah, really.
I think
Marvel, you gotta stop.
Yeah,
you gotta
I think-
start telling better stories.
I think the letter was a bit of a cop out. I didn't need Steve to tell me all that stuff. I think it was a perfect open resolution that happened at the end. I would have preferred actually if Steve and Cap hadn't talked. I think that it was it was really lame to have that prison break. First of all,
yeah.
how? Like, okay,
Right.
how?
Underwater like he just busts in without his shield and just
And like that place is
Come on.
really heavily
That's
armed.
pretty interesting, though. No
And-
shield.
Yeah, okay, yeah, I like the idea of no shield. I think it's very symbolic. Although that does bring up into question, what's he gonna do?
get it
he's-
back immediately. 'Cause
Yeah,
it's Marvel
probably.
and they can't commit to anything significant.
I would also
Sorry,
like to
I'm turning
say,
my
Or,
back towards
or
that.
I would also
T'Challa
like to
makes
say,
him a new one. Like,
I-
T'Challa makes him a new
That's
shield.
true. I'd like to say the image of Black Panther's claw marks on the shield is just one of my
was
favorite
awesome.
symbolic images of MCU ever. But I will admit the very and you know what else I don't like? If we're gonna delve really into the end, in the mid-credits scene, Bucky, right, the character who we've been spending this whole movie about, just goes under. He's
peace
inactive
out.
now. He's done.
See,
and I'm just like, what the
yeah.
I guessed that was going to happen. I thought that would be a good ending.
That's
until I
dumb.
saw it, and it was
That's
so kind
dumb.
of like I thought it was going to build to that like Bucky. Because here's what I thought they were going to do. It was basically like boiled down to Bucky was tearing the Avengers apart, and so for the sake of Steve and the Avengers as a whole to kind of help the world, he went under to stop their fighting. I thought that
would have
be
been
kind of
another
what they
great
would
character
do.
moment. That would have been a really
Right.
good moment, I admit.
But in this, the way they did it here was just, yeah, gonna go under. So-
Lame. To quote Sean, lame.
And so
Terrible.
it's
Yeah,
I thought
all right.
it
As
was
fine
just
as
a
I am being
waste.
right, I'm always okay being right.
So let me
been
think.
done
Yeah.
Let's see. I think that's pretty much everything. Real quick, because this thing isn't long enough. I do want to talk about really quick about the implications of this movie. Not like specific little things, but the first things first. So our big complaint is that the ending is really a lot of bit of a cop out. However, there's one saving grace to this, and that is the rest of Phase 3. Let's not forget, this is the beginning of Phase 3, which, though it doesn't have to, like, center around a certain, like, precedent for what, should happen. Because Iron Man 3 was the beginning of Phase 2, and it didn't really establish anything. It was just, like,
Yeah,
another
here's-
Tony Stark adventure. But Civil War was big, and I feel like we
here's
may
the
see
thing.
more of the implications as time goes on. Now, that's not a good excuse.
No, not
That's
at all.
not
It's
a good
not a
excuse,
good excuse at all.
But it's just the one saving grace this whole thing has. What if in the beginning of Thor, like, he hears about Earth where, like,
But
I don't know, like
actually
Tony Stark
think
is
about
hunting down Captain America. What if that's what's going on? Like,
But Max,
what if,
actually think about this. What's the next MCU movie? It's Doctor Strange. Is
Which
Doctor
is a
Strange have
solo
anything to
outing.
do with the Avengers and they're falling out?
Probably not.
He's
no,
he's
but
doing
it
mystical
might. You never
stuff.
know.
Well,
Nah,
maybe
he's-
mid credit scene it will tie it, but even
That's
then it's a
at
bit of a
best.
stretch.
That's
Yeah.
at best.
And then what's the next movie after that? Is it Guardians 2?
You're right.
Oh man, we're
Which
gonna
is
be.
going to be totally removed. And then what's after
Right.
that? Spider-Man. I mean, yeah, Iron Man's going to
Which-
be in it, but he's doing his own small adventure. Tony Stark's not going to be a major player. He's just going to
Although
be there.
again,
For
Well,
a
he's
little
probably
bit.
gonna be the
Homecoming-
Sage, to
the
be
word
fair.
homecoming was used when they were as one of the words
Yeah,
that
what
cues
is
Winter
that about?
Soldier.
What, Marvel,
Honestly,
what
I
are you
don't think it means
doing?
anything.
Oh wait, no! What if they wake up Winter Soldier and they use the word homecoming and then he goes to the homecoming and that triggers him and that's why Tony's in the movie? Guys,
That's idiotic.
We just found the connection.
what?
I'm kidding.
You just
I
said
don't know.
really
I just think
Barnes
it's
to the
I know.
homecoming dance.
It's funny. It's just I find it very funny. I don't know if that was a
Okay.
coincidence
But guys,
or I
here,
don't know.
let me continue this. So Guardians won't have anything to do with any of this.
Probably
Spider-Man
not,
won't
no.
really have anything to do with any of this. What's the movie after that?
Thor,
Thor won't have anything to do with any of this. What's the movie after
Black
that?
Panther.
Which might feel like the tiniest bit, but probably won't have anything to do with any of this. And what's the movie after that? Infinity War. This is basically just set up to Infinity War. This actually doesn't affect Phase 3 as much as
Is
it
Infinity War
affects-
really in 2018?
Yeah.
Whoa, I
2018,
did not.
2019.
Holy moly, I didn't. I thought it was like. Never mind. Okay, well, the main implications, I guess, here are it's again. That's the big problem is that you just not really sure what the ending thing is. So they all get out, and do they stay with Cap? Do they go? Do they leave?
the Team Cap is Team Cap, I guess. I mean, there's
What
not
about
much
Team Iron Man? Are they just is it still going to? Is Phase 3 going to consist of the teams? Like maybe all the heroes take a side, and that's
But again, there's no, like I just said, Max, there's no room for that. Nothing
there's no
in the
room.
upcoming movies can have anything to do with this.
Yep.
Well, I mean,
Dang it, Marvel.
okay. To be fair, I
think
would not be
Marvel
surprised.
kind
Screwed it up. You see, like I would say that I wouldn't be surprised if we get news about other Avengers characters being confirmed for Homecoming. I'm just gonna put that out there. I think that is a possibility. I think Tony Stark's involvement will somehow. I don't know if it's going to be a major plot thing, but I think there will be some sort of implications going on. I think Thor Ragnarok. Probably not, because I think a lot of it's going to be based on what's going on. You know,
It's not going to be on
Asgard.
Earth at all, right?
Right. I
Right.
think it's
Apparently, it's basically Planet Hulk. So
Well, I mean that's incorporated into it, I hear. But I mean, I
Mm-hmm.
will admit that this doesn't really affect that much as far as Phase 3 is concerned. But I wouldn't be surprised if Homecoming has more implications than we expect.
Oh, Ant-Man and the Wasp is in there somewhere too.
No, that's
That's
after.
after
That's
part
after.
one.
Yeah, that's after part
Oh,
one.
jeez. All right. So what I really want to talk about is. Wait, no, I don't really want to talk. I just want to bring it up. I've been seeing these videos like Captain America: Civil War, end credits and mid credits scenes explained. I'm like, what is there to explain exactly? Like,
yeah,
There's nothing to
I
first
see.
explain.
scene, like, yeah, Bucky went away. He got frozen up and sent to Wakanda.
And
then
Wakanda
Spider-Man
exists.
has a thing, and it's cool.
Yeah, that's like
and
an
it's a
Iron
projection.
Man. That's basically an Iron Man wristwatch, basically.
As if Peter Parker hasn't been given enough cool stuff. Like, honestly.
Well, that does add a bit of a
So-
new dimension to the
Well,
Spider-Man.
remember what Tony gave
character.
to that kid that helped him in Iron Man 3? Like a car and supercomputer and everything.
That's right. Yeah.
Really, Peter Parker got the short end of the stick here. So
That's true. So, all right. In the I guess there was a bit of a conflict.
There was.
in this
Civil
episode.
War. There was a Civil
but,
War. Talking about Civil War. Good
Let's
stuff.
not call it a civil war. This barely was a civil war. It was really a civil brawl, to be quite honest. I mean,
You can't make this stuff up, folks. It just
Yeah.
sort of comes out.
so, oh man, this is exhausting. I guess Civil War is a very exhausting movie to talk about because there's still. I mean, we could keep going, but I think we got the main ideas across. So, let's talk about a good ending.
and I'm disappointed.
with-
I never gave a 10 out of 10.
You know, it's okay because 10 out of 10 may be unreachable. Who
Yeah,
knows?
well, you still gave it to Pacific Rim, so
Well, I give it 5 out of 5. I'll give it a rest. So today, so that marks our final Rule 30 review. We have 2 more episodes up though. Those are coming out very, very soon.
yeah. Next up is my final one, which is top 3 favorite films of
Yeah,
all time.
yeah.
And
So
I think we should talk. Have we seen all 3 of our favorite movies? I believe we have. So we'll have to talk about that because I think we have. But yeah, that'll be next.
all right. Anyway, so Mike, our question is, what do you think of Civil War? And what? Okay, and if you could construct your own team, which 5 members would you put on it?
Oh, that's
regardless
fine. I'm
of
gonna
Team
do
Cap,
that.
Team Iron Man.
I'm gonna do that.
Like,
That's an interesting. Black Panther's definitely my main guy. He's my go-to. I've said this. I've been saying this from day one. I'm not Team Iron Man or Team like Cap. I'm Team Black Panther, guys. I am
Well-
Team Black Panther.
I mean, if we're being honest, I was Team Vision. Not just because I love the character,
Okay,
because
true.
he's like literally the Mind Stone. Are you really telling me the Mind Stone is incorrect about the situation? Like,
Yeah.
that's an act of supreme arrogance to be like, you know, the entity of like basically intelligence in all the cosmos? Wrong. come
Well,
on.
he does screw up though, which is nice.
Yeah,
again,
but
he does
doesn't
have a
mean
bit of
he's-
bias in him because Tony Stark is his creator. So anyway, let's not do that right now. So we got, let's see, 3 favorite films. Yeah, just put your team together and let us know next week or next whenever this comes out. Because again, we do this every now and then. So with that in mind, guys, my name is Max.
My name is Sean.
And my name is Larry.
Hear us later, guys.